Take. I'm your host, AJ Kierstead, NewEnglandTake.com to get more from the show. Please be sure to like and subscribe no matter where you're checking this out. Big thank you to WKXL for picking up the show Saturdays, 8:30 a.m., NHTalkRadio.com for their live stream, GraniteGrock.com, and Concord TV. Thank you to both of them for picking up the program. Also, big supporter of what they're doing over there. This episode is brought to you by the Porcupine Coffee Roasting. Be sure to check out PorcupineCoffeeRoasting.com. They sent me this month their Java blend. Fantastic. The descriptions they put on the flavors are actually accurate, unlike the crap you get at the grocery store. This is a private membership organization, so be sure to check out, support what they're doing here in the Granite State. PorcupineCoffeeRoasting.com. Use code NETAKE for 15% off your order. All right. Welcome back, Dexter Tarbox, contributor here at the show. Happy to have you back to talk all sorts. I messaged you before going, this is the evil right-winger episode with the commentary that is going to be coming from our mouths on these topics.
Hi, AJ. I'm happy to join you here in evil.
Yes, because we're going to talk Bad Bunny. We're going to talk the failures of our immigration system, and what was the other thing? The failures of our medical system, too, from a behavioral health perspective. So no one's got good news, and we ain't here to pretend anything's good news. All right, let's start off with Bad Bunny, who is an artist? ... question mark, not sure, rapper, I don't know. He did the halftime show at the Super Bowl. I don't want to have to talk about the Super Bowl. I don't like football. I could care less about sports. I don't really care. I'm done with the ads. It's not the 90s. The ads don't matter anymore. And the halftime show should be Metallica or something, and then maybe I'll kind of sort of pay attention to what you're doing. But you have this guy who does a Spanish 15-minute performance in the middle of the Super Bowl amongst twerking and grinding individuals on this alleged family program, and I've watched the YouTube version of it, maybe about halfway through, and said, I got it. I think I understand the whole point, but the big thing, we'll talk about the performance because it was something to behold, but this was specifically done as a political statement. Anyone that's saying otherwise is lying, because leading up to this, it was blatantly done that Bad Bunny was speaking openly against ICE, was getting all the headlines, and then all of a sudden, somehow, he's the headline artist for the Super Bowl halftime show. Dexter, why are we being gaslit so hard here?
Well, we can definitely tackle the creative aspects of it, but I don't know if, as you said, either you and I are necessarily well suited for that. And yet we can also take the position, as you've just said, that the choice of performer wasn't well suited to the event, because there's obviously an aspect of protest in this selection, which really wasn't likely appropriate for an event which ought to be apolitical. But for me, the clearer point of contention really is the content of the performance itself. So since this show, New England Take, is distributed over radio, I'm hesitant to actually try to read the English translations of a number of this Bad Bunny's lyrics, because they're extremely explicit. And that alone, I think, is cause enough for us to reject the performance as being unsuitable for its audience, which is, again, as you said, children and families. And just to sort of bring it around as something anecdotal, I really do find it sort of bemusing that infamous wardrobe malfunction, as we called it in the day, where Justin Timberlake partially and very briefly exposed Janet Jackson's breasts during a Super Bowl halftime show, that incurred really hefty fines from the FCC and was also met with this widespread condemnation, despite the fact that it was an accident, while lyrics that are graphically depicting sex acts are met with praise.
And there's literally the whole dance routine that takes place through a majority of the platform are countless rows of Hispanic women in very tight nude-colored clothing, shaking their butts like into the camera. Like, if there's a thing I'm a videographer. It's what I've done by trade for many, many years, where you intentionally are sure to show the dance without literally going up the skirt. And this is literally 50% of the dance performance that was going on in this. It was intentionally done to be as provocative as humanly possible. And in one of the scenes, like before even that starts, there's two guys very aggressively grinding against each other on the side of a pickup truck, where they at least kind of sort of covered the worst aspects of it behind the door of the said pickup, but it was very obvious what was going on. And it almost, actually, now I think of it, almost makes it worse. What are they actually doing behind that pickup truck door before they then curve over with the gimbal camera to the shots of these women in the middle of this like, it's like apple pie. Like I hate to say old school Americana sort of language, but that's what it is. The Super Bowl is supposed to be this cultural thing here where people, even if it's not the teams you follow, are going to watch the Super Bowl. Just for, hey, this is just a get together that people do every year. They have a party. It doesn't matter if your team lost. You may be upset about it, but you still pay attention to the Super Bowl, and kids pay attention to it and watch it. We've already lost culturally, so like all the award ceremonies and things like that have already gone by the wayside. Like they're doing the same thing to the Super Bowl here.
No, and of course we call it American football for a reason. It is a distinctly American sport, and so it does have an aspect, sort of as you said, apple pie, and Americana. This is not a sport which is played or widely followed in other countries. And going back to the performance itself, with the various butts and grinding and things like that, I'm amazed that they left as much to the imagination as they did in some of those scenes, given the performer, and it was still raunchy. With the butts, I have the suspicion that was inserted to placate the heterosexuals, who are, of course, the vast majority of the audience for this particular event. I said it when I watched it live. I said, well, that's for the straight guys.
Yes, and that kind of goes exactly to the next point I wanted to have on this. Who is the damn audience for this? Because Boomer Book has been... It's been on fire recently. I'm getting so much content off of Facebook of late because people are freaking out about the world burning around them, especially on the left, and the left loves Facebook still. I don't care about Blue Sky or X. The great place to find your normie Democrats and progressives is to go on Facebook. There's a reason why I deal with these platforms still. And this one person did a post saying, I wasn't wishing Bad Bunny was speaking English. I was wishing I could speak Spanish. Funny how your brain works when you're not a racist bigot. So how much was your bigotry level up to, Dexter, watching this person speak Spanish? Did you feel all the hatred and bigotry you can muster?
No, I think if I spoke Spanish and I would have known what he was saying in real time, I would have felt disgust. Again, not anything to do with his speaking Spanish or his ethnicity, but because of I would have known what he was saying, yes. Which was largely revolting.
Yeah, and it's like, and there's other person. Sometime this week, I'll delete my account on Facebook. The amount of people, Christian people, who clearly oppose Bad Bunny because of racism, because he sang in a different language and gave a beautifully unifying view of what it means to be American, has grieved my spirit. We are in a racist divide, not political. The show was beautiful. There's a difference between politics, racism, culture, and the fact no one could understand what he was saying for 15 straight minutes.
One of the songs from this set that he performed, the Apple Music halftime show incident, when you asked who was this appealing to, I would name Tim Cook for one. But the names of one of the songs from his set is the vernacular phrase in Puerto Rican Spanish for debauchery. I mean, I almost feel like you could have this little fight, and of course we'll see that on Facebook. We'll see it with all these groups. But for me, again, you can't get over the content itself being unsuitable for the audience.
Yeah, and it's okay. Like no one thought it was a problem that there was Spanish spoken during it. Like that doesn't matter. Like who cares? No one on the right honestly cares, but when it's it's intentionally done to allegedly rile up the right. It didn't really rile up the right. It really just enabled the left's worst empathy gleaning they try and get from everything. It's apparent that to do things in a certain way has a greater meaning than just the face of it. Oh, it's just racism. Once again, it's just totally removing especially in our current dialogue where the right is honestly having a real divide right now, where we have to deal with like actual racists that the people in the normal world are saying, like, we shouldn't be paying attention to Nick Fuentes. Why do you guys keep paying attention to Nick Fuentes the way you are? You're just enabling, you're empowering these weirdos that no one wants to be associated with.
And by painting everything with that brush of racism, including, in my case, just the objection to the content of the performance, by painting that with the brush of racism, you, as you said, completely devalue the actual debates that we need to have against actual racists who are fools and not to be struck down.
Yeah, we should be making fun of them, just like that picture. There's a picture that came out a couple weeks ago of that slimeball Eric Spofford, who his goons attacked the New Hampshire Public Radio reporters. The Nick Fuentes clavicular, who's another online weirdo. Nick Fuentes has gotten a lot more mainstream attention, so I finally don't feel like I gotta preface who the hell he is. And the who are the two other guys? The international guys.
The name's escaping me, but clavicular, I cannot believe, has just entered this discussion.
I know, it's so crazy. But the other two guys are the ones with the human
trafficking. Mobbed, I heard.
Yeah, so we should be laughing at these guys. So when we see a picture of these weirdos wearing suits that are too tight, looking like I'm tough, and in a sunset picture together, it looks like they're about to kiss. We should be able to make fun of that. That's okay. If we should all be able to come together as a nation and laugh at communists and racists when they make really dumb posts online. Like that should be the dialogue we should be having.
Much to my chagrin, I witnessed a video of that clavicular getting arrested the other day, and while the cops are speaking with him, he pulls out like a massage gun and starts vibrating his face with it. Yeah, this is worthy of ridicule. Worthy of ridicule in a way that doesn't require us to paint every criticism of Bad Bunny as racist.
Moments like that, we should all come together and have really dark jokes about, I wish this was happening in LA so the police could do what they're well known for doing out there.
I'm not going to say any of the jokes that just came to mind.
Moving on, let's go over to a more, I guess we could call this one serious. We're talking about an immigration situation here. So Maine Public is the outlet that shared this. And funny about this one is New Hampshire Public Radio actually reshared this article on Facebook, linking to their site. They've removed it from their site, or the link broke, which is awfully suspicious. The headline is, a mother in Biddeford reunites with her daughter after ICE arrest, but their future remains certain. And on Friday, January 23rd, Mayra Vaca, I don't speak Spanish, Leta Cunga, a single mother, said she had just dropped off her 6-year-old daughter Camilla at school and was on her way to get groceries when immigration's agents pulled her over. Speaking in Spanish at her in-laws, just stop for a moment that she has to speak in Spanish to her at her in-laws' house to the reporter.
If you read on, you'll see the in-laws, in fact, don't speak English either.
Yeah. Originally from Ecuador, said the agents told her that she was in the country illegally. guess what? It's the truth. She did enter the country illegally. She was given the chance to have an asylum hearing, and she blew off, I'm pretty sure it's 2 separate hearings in New York. One in New York, one in somewhere else. She fled the state, allegedly for work. You should be able to find work in one of the most populous states in the country that is well known for being very inviting to have illegal immigrants actually working in workplaces because they don't double check anything. You can't... I cannot comprehend the lack of thinking through this immigration situation. We've harped on this over and over again. It needs to be harped on over and over again. If someone entered the country illegally, is somehow given that second chance, that golden ticket to have a hearing, to possibly have a proper asylum hearing, and then skips out on it twice, I don't care anymore. I'm not sorry. I'll care for the situation, this individual. Yeah, it's probably, there's a lot of tragedy in this woman's life, I'm sure. But if you don't do just the basic, I don't care anymore.
Let me give you the full rundown and for our listeners. This is a woman who left her home country of Ecuador, according to her, well, one, for economic opportunity, which is something we've discussed before, but also because of an abusive partner, so she says. That, of course, is not grounds for an asylum claim, unless he was also a government official who was using his position to oppress her. Economic opportunity is, of course, not a valid basis for an asylum claim. She works without permission, illegally working in Maine, where she has family members who are apparently also in the country illegally. She fails to attend her court date at which her case would have been heard. She's detained while driving a vehicle, and then she's quickly released from custody so that she could plan for her orderly departure with her family, the daughter of the headline. That release was predicated on the requirement to regularly report to immigration officials while she's planning her departure from the United States. And now she's suggesting, as you say in Spanish, that she may not even honor that requirement to check in with ICE, as she says, presumably because she doesn't intend on complying with her court-ordered deportation. She doesn't want to go to these ICE check-ins because she doesn't know how they're going to end. So I just fail to see how this case is anything but cut and dried, let alone newsworthy.
100%. They keep finding like the worst instances, examples to make their story, and it's mind-boggling because there's been a few stories in the last year that have been like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, this is unfortunate. This person probably should be given an exception. I remember I don't remember the specifics, but I just remember a story coming out of Vermont that there was a community leader. He fled a genocide happening in his country in Africa and got here. He didn't enter through the correct means, but he was trying to actually do the right thing. He did not hide who he was or anything like that. And tried to do the right thing and do the right thing for his little community that he joined here. This is not that. And there are so many times that's being put forward that these individuals, we should like almost worship at their feet the fact they somehow got here through whatever tragedy it was, when literally I pulled up my map on my phone. So Ecuador, I wasn't exactly sure where Ecuador was in South America, to be honest. I'm not a geography nut, so I'm like, where is Ecuador? So it's in the like the northwest part of Africa, close to the very top of the continent. So Ecuador,
South America.
South America. So she traveled, if she went by land through Colombia, it crossed the canal or whatever into Panama, so now in Latin America, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, maybe Belize, Mexico, and then the United States. If this was by land in order to get here. For someone that was allegedly in an abusive relationship, that you cannot do that. We're not offering asylum to people that are in a bad place in their personal life. I'm sorry. And it's not, it's tragic. We should be investing, like, at a systemic level, we should be investing in getting all these South American and Latin American countries to side with us economically, kind of like we're maybe sort of doing with Venezuela. That's a whole other thing, but you know what I mean. We should be getting all these countries to start trading with us. We should, instead of trading with China, there's so many opportunities for manufacturing and different things of that nature. But instead, we're just saying, hey, if you make it over the border, hey, I guess you get to stay. When that is, it breeds more of this. It encourages more people to take the risks because they think, unfortunately, that if they get over the border, back in the day, you would be allowed to stay. Because that's the way Biden treated it. And we were so distracted by other foreign matters during the Bush administration and first Obama administration, no one really paid attention to it. No one realized how many people Obama was deporting during his span of time he was in office until he was out, and then all of a sudden these lefty lawyers, the immigration lawyers, went, we never liked Obama at all. Like, you guys were funding his campaign. Like, all you lefty lawyers, like, it's my professional life. I interact with a lot of lawyers, and one of them was this person that I knew that I'm like, you were someone that blatantly was supporting Obama for his policies and everything. You can't have it both ways. You can't say he was evil and bad, and then the one thing you spend your whole career in life trying to support, immigration law, turn around and say he was the worst. What do you people want? Do you just want the chaos? I think they just want the chaos.
Well, they absolutely do. Otherwise, they wouldn't have so wholesale embraced it as they did under the previous administration. But as we said, at least as they are reported, her causes for her asylum claim do not appear to be legitimate claims for asylum. Her daughter was not born in the United States. She traveled here with her daughter, so she is not a citizen either of this country. And over and above all of that, the proper process for applying for asylum is not to illegally enter or to cross at the land crossing border of the United States, but to apply in a neutral third country where one can get to safety through the American embassy. So either way, whether or not the causes that she's asserting are accurate or not, again, it doesn't seem that they are, she has gone about the process in the wrong way. And that's talking about the process to enter the States, let alone missing her court dates because they were inconvenient for her, and as it seems, continuing to fail to comply with the U.S. immigration law after she entered the country.
In the tone of the article, like, it also, I had to reread the beginning of it.
Typical.
Because I was reading it and I'm like, the way they were phrasing it was like this kid was abandoned on the side of the road or something. No, she dropped her kid off at school and then was detained shortly thereafter. Yeah, she probably had to deal with some confusion at the end of the school day, but she wasn't ripped from her daughter's hands in order to be detained. Her kid was at school. Her kid was safe. And this article phrases it like this kid was abandoned by the situation in some way, when that was blatantly not the case. And this is obviously a situation where there's other family, most likely on the emergency contact list for this child. It's unfortunate. She probably should have been given a chance for a phone call if that wasn't the case. She might have been. We honestly don't know. Honestly, for me personally, I don't really trust a lot of what ICE puts out there at this point, because they put out so many kind of half-truths or just beating around the bush with what it is they're up to, and they've messed up so many situations. But to phrase this article in a way that ICE is tearing a mother away from her kid and leaving this child abandoned is just utterly ridiculous, and just that on the face of it shows how politically motivated this article was written.
Because if I am operating a motor vehicle and I get pulled over for whatever reason and they find 5 pounds of heroin in my car, whatever it may be, and I'm taken into custody, I'm arrested, the first priority of law enforcement in that instance is not to return my child to me. That's simply not how arrests work.
Yeah, it doesn't at all. And it's been... There's this picture from, I think it was Minneapolis, either way it was Minnesota, of the little kid wearing the winter hat next to the police car. there's so much confusion around the story, but at least by what I've seen of the story, the father was using the kid as a means to escape. The kid, he left his kid to try and flee the ICE agents. Every time I see that picture, I just lose my mind going, are we really, we're really going to use children in this way? It's obvious that politically, progressives and so much of the left don't care about children. Like, it's not about the children, it's about getting the political means that they want, and they're using them with this suicidal empathy it's something that if you need to honestly consider before you take one of these bleeding heart liberal stances. Is this suicidal empathy? Is this something that's strictly gonna long term, if it continues to expand, is going to ruin the fabric of our country because it makes your fifis sad when you see a sad picture?
Frankly, I think the phrase suicidal empathy does them too much justice. I think this is craft. This is an effort to put a sympathetic face on a policy which is much more sinister in its intentions on the part of the leftists who are advocating it.
Yeah, it's wouldn't be surprised. It's so toxic. All the money that's going to be going into these things that we'll find out, just like BLM, we'll find out years later where all the money is actually going with all these immigrant rights groups, quote unquote, all these silly protests which it's been very obvious, especially in Minnesota, that they've been funded from above, and many people that. So I follow Politics is a great podcast. If you're interested in the game of politics, it's a great show to check out. I think, honestly, judging by his analysis, I think he leans as a center-left Democrat personally, but he was even out there saying, like, it's obvious, like, there are organizations, whether it's the Lutheran charities, whether it's these alleged Catholic charities, things of that nature, they're just using this to their own ends, and it's toxic, it's anti-American, and it's abusing the populace that is just brainwashed by the chaos. And the parties have screwed up their organizations so badly. There's no real good leader bringing people together. There's just selfishness to the nth degree in DC, where we can't figure out who's next. We're too busy waiting for Pelosi and all of them to just croak in office or leave right before they do, and just having nepotism lead to the next generation of the people in DC. It's terrible.
And what was the polling number that came out today? I think CNN had to report on it as much as I'm sure that they didn't wish to. I mean, 58% of all likely voters now consider the Democratic Party to be too liberal. Clearly, this is, again, though they are very crafty, I think that there's a chance people are starting to see through it.
So we get time before the next presidential run, thank God. The midterms are going to be screwed. What's going to happen in the midterms is going to happen at the midterms. I hold no hope for anything. I can only kind of hope maybe we get our lukewarm Johnny Sununu in Senate. We'll see what happens. It's all the messaging, like when you look honestly at the poll, what they honestly believe, in my opinion, when it comes to Goodlander and Pappas and all them here in New Hampshire, I think they're middle of the road Democrats. Like, I don't think they're anything too crazy, but all their rhetoric they put out there, all their advertising, just as blatant pleas to the progressive left, and it's terrible. It's toxic.
Well, all of our federal candidates really on the right, quote unquote, in New Hampshire now are very much orienting themselves towards the most acceptable level of conservatism that they can embrace at the state. Yeah, they're dancing along that line. And I can't say that I'm one who hasn't gone in a bit with that. When you consider Scott Brown versus Sununu, neither of them are good choices. They both fall in that camp.
All right, we're out of time, unfortunately. NewEnglandTake.com. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you, Dexter Tarbox, for joining the show. Thank you, WKXL, for picking up the show. Next up is Facing the Future, GraniteGrock.com, Conquer TV, all the places. Please be sure to like all these outlets as well as this show. We'll talk to you soon.